All right. Hey, Gloomers. Welcome back to Nerdhaven. It's Mike, and today I'm doing my second try of a live stream where I walk through my latest Frosthaven card template. I just did one, and I played it back after, and I realized I had some settings messed up in my mic. I just moved my mic to a different place, and so a lot of my audio was clipped out. So sorry about that if you just watched it, but there are a couple other things that I wanted to clean up in there anyway, so I'm just redoing it. So, yeah, today we're going to be in Photoshop. We're going to be looking at the Sun class. So if you don't know what that is and you don't want to be spoiled, you should not watch. But if you want to see how to set up a Frosthaven template to convert or, make a custom class using the newest style for cards, this is where you'll do it. There'll also be a link down below for how to get into my Google Drive, which has all my templates and a whole bunch of other assets. So with that, let's jump right in. So I have my ability card template here. And the way I have this organized is everything that's of the same color will actually use a different hashtag of sorts. So you want to go into your layer filters and go to name. And we're going to go... I just realized I am not sharing my screen yet. So here's my template, and right from the top you're going to go into your name, and we're going to do hashtag style 1. Here I have all of the things that are going to use this first style. I'm going to use this darker yellow color that I saved as watch for sun. And then I'm going to copy layer style, and I'm going to take all of the other layers here. They all have this hashtag style 1, and I pasted that layer style. Next, I'm going to go to style 2. These are going to be all the highlight bubbles for things like range, targets, consume effects, things like that. And I'm going to pick my same color here. It's a different blend mode, and that's why you have to go through this a couple different times. And I will select the rest of these and paste that layer style. To select all of these, what I'm doing is I'm selecting the first one, holding in the shift key, then selecting the last one, and it selects everything in between. Style 3 is just for the runes. There's color overlay and a glow that I put on here. So these I'm going to go with this lighter yellow color, and I'm also going to do the same for my glow. And then my last is style 4. Again, I will go with the lighter yellow color. And now I have my colors set up for my template. I may play with some things, but for the most part I should be good to go now for the rest of the template. Next thing I want to do is bring my icon in here. So I already have that saved. Drop that in. Anything that goes in this icon folder will get a black overlay and a white glow. So right now you'll see it does not yet have the glow. Play around and kind of figure out exactly what you want for size there. I'm going to move this in and delete my logo and nudge this around a little bit. That looks pretty good. So now my logo is all set and I should be good to move on. Let me just kind of walk through some of the templates I have here. Under specialty templates, I have persistent tokens, so these are for used tracks. Anything from 1 to 7. And you can move it around once you create it, but those are the persistent tokens. You can make a copy of those. Just some quick tips. Control J will make a duplicate of a layer. If you're doing multiple layers at the same time, I find selecting them, use Control C to copy, and then Control Shift V to paste in place. If you just do Control V, then it won't necessarily keep the object aligned in the exact spot. And many of these are sort of in a set place by design. Things like the element infuse and the round or persist or loss icons, things like that in the corner. Mandatory box, I'm going to show a little bit at the end, and there's some unique things that you have to do with this, and it doesn't play nice with Photopea, so if you're not using Photoshop, just be aware of that. But we'll talk about that at the end. Summons, I have summon frames here for top and bottom. If you are using something that has an attribute box, you can actually remove the stats and box here, and you can add in the medium or smaller size ones. I haven't made a larger one yet, but I have a feeling I'm going to need to, so I'm leaving myself some room there. So that's it for summons. I'm not going to need to use those, but the template's there. Here's the AOE template. So this is a little interesting the way I designed this. So this hexes folder within the AOE template. This folder, anything in here will have a drop shadow on everything as if it were merged together. So you won't have objects shadowing on top of other hexes. It'll just be behind it. But you don't want your hex pips to be in there, because those should not have a shadow if you have enhancement pips. So what you want to do is take whatever shape you want, and you would make however many layer or copies of the hexes you need, and then you can use this alignment grid to position them. So as an example, if I'm doing a 3-section ranged AOE that's just 3 hexes that are all in a cluster, I won't need the self, ally, or blank hex. You could see those would be here in the background, but the red was on top. So I will, you know what, let me actually use all 3, and I'll just make them in a cluster together. So maybe I want to use 16, 17, and 23 as my locations for them. So what I can do is I can go down to 16, I can control click to select 16, and then I can center on it. And then I can control click on 17, and I can center on that. And then 23. And once that's done, I can hide my alignment grid, and I would have my AOE shape. But I don't want to do that. So let's get this back, and we'll move along. I have a frame in here for commands. I don't know what this is officially going to look like. I just put something in the corner and kind of tried to follow the opposite of the shape that's in the bottom right corner, and we'll see what happens with that. But that's sort of a placeholder for command prompts right now. Then I have the ability templates. So these are your standard abilities. For the top, you have actions without highlights. These are things like your standard attack or move. Actions with highlights are things that are going to need that bubble that will have ranged or number of targets. Would also be used if you have a condition. Conditional effects would be things like element consumption that can increase the benefit of your, give a bonus to your ability. You can also go under the connected bubble piece here, and you can hide these lines. So if it's a standalone ability and not just a bonus to another ability, you have the ability to do that as well. And these are mandatory boxes. You have some text here, so if you just need to use a paragraph or something like that, you can use this as a starting point. This is the correct font. The spacing, the line spacing, you can play around with here, but it really tends to vary pretty broadly across the Frosthaven cards I've seen. So it's sort of just kind of play around and see what fits well and what you like as far as that goes. I mean, there's a little bit more to it, but nothing that I could give you direct instruction on. All right, so the mandatory boxes here. For infusions, you can do a single element frame, which is by far the most common. I also have support for multi-elements. if you were to go into that multi-element, you can actually change the left and right. So you could say, you know, I want it to be wind and ice or whatnot. So you have control over that. Can also support up to 2 or 3 elements. If you need anything bigger, you can always just manually make that with, you know, the mandatory box. We also have our corner mandatories, so 1 icon, 2 icons, and 3 icons. I'll show you how to use that with a card as well. We have our divider lines if you need to have multiple abilities within an action. And I also have other assets. So these are just other little tidbits that you might need to add in: element icons, enhancement pips, conditions, abilities if you need to add jump or something like that. And then if it's a standalone ability versus you know, a secondary effect to another ability, then there's different sizes that you can use in there. So that's about it for the core template. I do want to show mandatory box, but that'll probably be a separate thing that I have to show, so I'll save that to the end. So let's start by making a card. And so I'm going to open up my sheet of cards here, and we're going to do Holy Strike, which is an 85 initiative card. And what I'll take is my card layer here, and I'll do Control J to make a copy of it. I'm going to hide the other one so it doesn't sit there in the background. And what I like to do is name the folder Holy Strike. I'll copy that and throw it up here. Change this to level 1. Now, even though this text is centered and it's center aligned, I find that for whatever reason this font, it's still not perfectly aligned always when you put the number in, so I like to just recenter, and you can see it shifted like 1 pixel over. So that's it for my basic frame. Now I have to put my top and bottom actions in. So my top action is an attack 2, has an enhancement pip, and applies stun. And the bottom is an attack 5 with an enhance, range 3, also enhanceable, fuses light with 2 XP and a loss. So I'm going to come over here to my top with a highlight because I have the stun on there. I also need bottom with a highlight because of the range. I'm on the bottom. I'm also going to need an infused single frame, and I'm going to need a 2 icon corner frame. So I'm going to Control C to copy those. I'll go down here and paste. But I do Control Shift V to paste so that they're all in the right spot. And we'll put this in the top folder, and the rest of this goes in the bottom folder. Now for my top, it's an attack, so I'm going to delete my move and heal. It's going to be just a diamond enhancement pip. And inside here, I actually don't need any of these because I'm going to need to put my stun in. So I'll go back up here to other assets, conditions, small. Here's my stun. I'll copy that. And we'll put that in here. And here I have bubbles for all 3 of the like 1, 2, and 3 line shapes pre-made. Most of the stuff will end up using just a 1 line, and you can always adjust it and play with it from there if you need to. You can go in here and you can change the properties of the bubble size. If you're going anything bigger, you generally want to change the rounding up as high as it will go, up to 40. Once you get to 40, that's where it'll stop for the radius there. So I'm going to select my bubble, and I have a macro that I use to center things inside my selection. You can go and see my macros up here. This is True Center. so it'll align vertically and horizontally to my selection, and then it'll deselect so that I'm ready to keep going. So hit that macro. This bubble here is too big, so I'm going to lower this down. I know that this should be 85, and so I'm just going to select it again. Excuse me. Just getting over a cold, so I apologize. All right, so I'm also going to center this action. Yeah, this needs to be an attack too. Now moving on to the bottom, turn on my light. And first icon in my corner is going to be the loss, so I'll delete the others. And then my second icon will be XP. And it's 2 XP, so we'll get rid of the 1. Now this down here, also an attack. And the highlight effect is going to be range, so I don't need my target icon. It's an attack 5 at range 3. And this also only has the diamond enhancement for the attack. And with that, I am done. So there's my first card. What I'll end up doing is saving this as a PNG. And there it is. So let me just show one other quick thing so that you can see how it works. I want to show the mandatory box. So I'm going to go to my specialty templates. I'll take my mandatory box and make a copy of it, and again, Control-Shift-V to paste it. And so now this, let's just say this mandatory box needed to be here for whatever reason. I put it behind my main ability so that the main ability shows up in front of it. And what you want to do is sort of move. I actually like to move the ability inside the mandatory box. Sorry, not within this folder, but create a folder that they're sort of collectively within together. This way here, you can kind of move and center them together. So it'll color yellow if you drop it in there. But the main thing you want to do is I try not to resize this box from the left. You can move it and then resize from the right if you need to make it smaller. And I'm happy to do that. And then once you have it where you want it, then you can take the box and adjust it from the right. I like to unlink my proportions so that it doesn't make it skinnier from top and bottom. And you can adjust up and down this way. The reason I want to not adjust from the right is this divider line is spaced where it needs to be from the left-hand side, and if you start resizing that, now all of a sudden, you know, you're going to be off-centered there. So we will make this a bit smaller. Once I have it the size I want it, could select this and then take my attack action folder, and I could center it within this box this way. And then I can take my divider line and I can make that smaller. I can highlight my box again, and I can center my exclamation point, same way I did the ability. And now you'll notice it's basically done, but I don't have my corners cut off. They're still rounded. This is something Photopea doesn't do very well. It doesn't have this, this convert point tool, which makes this whole process a lot easier. When you have that, you can go to the shape, click on it, and you'll get these boxes. And if you just go around and click on them, that'll turn the rounded corners into flat corners. So that's about it. I'm going to undo all that because this does not need a mandatory box, but hopefully that helps you with using this template. And if you have any questions, you can always get in touch with me on Discord, or you can leave a comment in the video below, and I'm usually pretty good about responding. So good luck, and happy glooming.